This is the Left in the Forgotten Borough podcast. I'm Andrew Savage.
And I'm Nancy Richards with Guillermo.
Yes, we have a special guest today, and it is our 100th episode.
Happy anniversary.
Yes, our 100th episode.
Cheers.
Cheer.
Once, there you go.
And come to think, we started this podcast about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, on the night of the Biden-Trump debate. Remember
Oh, yes.
that?
That was a lovely night.
Yes, and you had a different dog back then, and I said I need a service animal to help me.
Now, Guillermo is, he's my dog now. He's not my foster. And I fell on him. So, he's, so this is my life now. I'm falling. I'm gonna fall on my dog. So,
Yeah, well,
he's,
we've become the Left in the Forgotten Borough podcast. I'm really proud of where we are 100 episodes later because we are part of a burgeoning resistance movement here on Staten Island. And I was really upset last week when the Supreme Court made their decision not to redistrict Staten Island. But I was comforted in the fact that I think we've, over the last year in particular, have been part of a movement that's can be victorious in November because we are really showing up and showing out every single week for Maliotakis Mondays. Our podcast is always a voice that's calling out our member of the House of Representatives. And
bringing up a lot of topics that
yeah,
don't normally get discussed or highlighted in the regular media.
yeah, and also bring and highlighting the diversity of views that are here on Staten Island.
Yeah,
Oftentimes we are painted as MAGA and MAGA only without any sort of nuance or representation given to the folks who may think differently. And so I think that we've done a really good job at that. And actually, our listeners may know, we're obviously big supporters of the No Kings rally. We were at the last one in October. You were at the one in June last year. Um, but this year we're having it on March 28th, which is a Saturday, and we are sponsors of that event. This is Left in the Forgotten Borough podcast.
yes, we are. So, which is going to be where it was the last time. Um, it's going to start at Maliotakis office and go down Victory. They said something about meeting at Royal Oak. Um,
Yeah, well, that's roughly the same area.
yeah,
Yeah, that's roughly the same area, and I'm happy that we get to partake in that not just as participants, but also as sponsors. We get to get our name out there, and so people who are in the resistance on Staten Island know that there are people out there who are just like them, and that they're not alone, and that they can listen to our podcast, join the movement, sign up with groups like the Staten Island Action Coalition, and meet at for Maliotakis Mondays uh, on whatever the issue is. And so I think that's going to be a really big turnout event. I'm hoping that we get to surpass the turnout from last time. I think it was around 1,500 to 2,000 people showed up last time on Staten Island.
and it's good for other Staten Islanders to see that as well. We had a lot of people that supported, like by like, beeping and
Hmm.
like yeah, like they were. You could see in people's faces that they were happy to see it. Some people were like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
But a lot of people were happy that we were doing something like that.
Yeah, and I think, this is how we build a grassroots movement. This is how we build and sustain a coalition that could be victorious in November. And I'm hoping that the Left and Forgotten Borough podcast continues to be a part of a growing resistance movement that will carry not only just New York 11 to victory in November, but will help the Democrats overall take back the House, potentially take back the Senate. And I'm seeing a lot of good signs there about taking back the Senate. We're seeing James Tallarico is leading both Republican opponents in polls now in Texas. And we're seeing there's some prospects in Alaska that are really good. Ohio, places that we wouldn't think of, places that are deep red.
Even people like Marjorie Taylor Greene's district had
Yeah.
some promise. So people look, I don't necessarily think that people are changing their point of views. I think more people are coming out to vote that maybe not normally do. Maybe independents are changing their point of view. Like you're never going to change the MAGAs, but you know, Donald Trump cannot win Matt with just MAGA alone. He needs other people. And so I think a lot of people have become upset with his policies and his unfulfillment. He's told people he's going to, reduce prices and keep gas cheap and not get into wars. And all of those things are happening right now. I watched gas go this week. I got gas early this week for 2.76, and yesterday I put gas in for 3.49. So, and that was in 1 week.
Yeah, and that's because a very critical passage of the Strait of Hormuz has been obstructed by this war in Iran, and boats that are trying to get through it are bombed and attacked and assaulted. And the president who dodged the draft himself has never seen a minute of combat himself because of his bone spurs, allegedly. His telling those boats who are risking it all going through
Yes,
the Strait of Hormuz that they just have to have guts and go through it.
really. Like,
Yeah,
have a little gut and go through this. Like, you didn't have any guts at all when
no.
came time for you to serve. So I find that appalling. Also, he's playing golf. Like the war's not interrupting his golf game either.
Finds time to dance too. With he's doing the jerk off dance.
Yeah.
He's doing the two jerking off two men at the same time dance and in Kentucky, and so I'm happy he's having a party. But as of right now, I believe the number is 12 service members are dead. Certainly nothing to laugh or dance about. And over a war that I have no idea why we're even in because they have not given us a coherent explanation for it.
No. So what they've given us is there's this well, Rubio was saying that Israel was going to attack, so they were going to attack us in retaliation. So it was kind of preempted. There was that, but then Trump said something different, something about missiles being able to reach us, but not giving us a timeline when. He also said that this was going to be that we already won. I like that. We already won, but we're still going at it. So
Well, we obliterated their nuclear facilities in June, but yet we still have to do it again, according to him. So it's, we can't always rely, we can never rely on them to tell us the truth or give us any real consistent or coherent explanation for this. At least George Bush had the decency to lie to us about going into to come up with a lie about WMDs when he went into Iraq.
yeah, I remember that war. I was very much against that as well. But Trump is definitely blatantly lying. One of the things I just forgot my train of thought. Could be the margarita. But in regards to what did he say? I reposted it on my stories. Just
About the war.
yeah. Hold on. Let me see what I my story. Oh yeah, that's the thing. This is what um he he turned around and he talked about one of the things that's happening is because of this war, the consequences as far as like prices
Hmm.
and people, soldiers who are dying. But now there's apparently, there's sleeper cells that have been awoken. So
Hmm.
when he was questioned about that, he said the sleeper cells came in as a result of, the loose policies of the Biden administration. But in the same breath where he blames Biden for the sleeper cells, he says he knows where they are and we're watching them. So I posted something of a guy going, so wait a second. So last week when you had like all of those, you have Homeland Security going in with absolutely, carte blanche. Um, you're not going after like those people, but you're just keeping an eye on them, which is like, it's such bullshit. So
Well, of course it is. And I think, you know, like I said, I have a lot of fears. I have a lot of hopes about the midterms as far as where those are going, but I also have a lot of fears, and the fears are wrapped up in the war in Iran and how that could be used to stifle elections and to uh, really give him cause to, or at least justification to exercise broad and unconstitutional powers. Um, we saw last week there was a protest outside of the Gracie Mansion um, against Mamdani. It was another right-wing provocateur, Jake Lang,
Right.
was there with protesting just, I guess, Mamdani existing as a Muslim.
Yeah,
And
what was that about? Like,
and
why were they there?
they were just like I said, they're just protesting that he's like existing
Muslim.
as a Muslim, and so there were counter protesters there, and there was an explosive that was found. They think that the exposed
They arrested two people who were ISIS inspired, and
absolutely
that was
well,
a great picture of the cop jumping over the
yeah,
going after him. And kudos to that cop.
absolutely, yeah.
So he was laughing like he probably couldn't do it again, but adrenaline will
You know,
you could hop a fence with adrenaline.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I was worried that if God forbid that bomb had exploded,
There was shit in it.
yeah, and it was not only would would we be concerned obviously for the human lives that would be lost and for all of the damage done, but also I was worried that something like that could be used as a justification to potentially declare a national emergency, to invoke the Insurrection Act, and for the president to exercise broad and unconstitutional powers. We know that the it hasn't played out the way he's hoped with domestic protests, because thankfully nobody has taken the bait as it relates to being violent. The people of Minneapolis are a model of this. They're so peaceful, and they're so tenacious, and they're so brave.
Pissing off the
Yeah,
right. They're like, ah,
yeah.
where's the riot?
Yeah, that's what they
I
and
need a riot.
that's what they're wanting. And so my fear is that they now, since they're not getting their way there, that they're going to move
Well, they're
over
provoking
to,
it. I wondered,
yeah.
was this guy at the Mandami thing to provoke?
Well, that's what I was wondering too. And we saw in Minneapolis, one of the things that kicked that off was the Nick Shirley going to the Somali daycare centers um, to expose so-called fraud that had been prosecuted years before. And these provocateurs are going to these cities, trying to provoke issues, I believe, so that the president has justification to do an even bigger power grab. And so I'm really worried about that. Those are one of the things that I'm concerned about as it relates to the midterms. So I'm hoping that,
I'm concerned about sleeper cells
yeah,
because the guy who stormed into the synagogue in
Michigan.
Michigan, um, was a Lebanese guy who was pissed off that because his family got bombed. So he simply left because of a result of something recent that happened to his family. And then he decided to take it out on, Jewish population here in the United States. And so I am concerned that what's happening in Iran is going to ignite, um, you
It's a
know,
powder keg.
yeah. And so I am concerned about that. We do live in New York. Um, but it could happen, as we could see, it could happen anywhere in the country. And this is all a result of what started last week with Iran. I don't know the urgency of going into Iran at this point. I really don't understand the urgency of starting this now. Um, the the government of Iran is this horrible theocracy, but we didn't have the other things set in place to.
Well, that's always the case with regime change. I see a lot of people who supported what happened in Iran and what happened in Venezuela. They are showing the people dancing in the streets. And yes, there's that euphoric moment where you
That's
realize
it.
that that person is gone. But ultimately, moves pretty quickly from that to what happens next. And I remember, I'm old enough to remember Saddam's statue coming down,
Yeah,
and then a few years later, ISIS filling the void
yeah.
there.
So yeah, filling the void. So they put in this the supreme leader, his son. Um, so it's just they didn't change anything, and they
Timu regime change.
yeah. So
Timu regime change.
so it's it's just the same. Like, but he didn't have. And he's like, oh, well, the people we were going to use, we probably killed them. Like, that's stupid. Why would you do that?
Well, now he's got the son of the Ayatollah
Who's younger?
who's younger and more
And now he's
hardline.
pissed you killed his dad.
Yeah, he's more hardline from what
It's
I
the sequel. He's
understand. Yeah.
back and he's pissed. You didn't
Yeah.
want that. So,
No, well, no, and he's a lot more vigorous. So you're looking at maybe 20 or 30 years if we don't kill him.
and the whole relationship with Israel, that how is that helping? Like, it's not. It's like you want Israel to exist in the Middle East with peaceful neighbors, and then you also want Israel to develop a relationship where the people of Gaza have,
Well, they could coexist peacefully,
yeah,
and I think that's been my position as well. But I don't believe any American soldier should die
yeah.
fighting another country's wars
No.
or another country's battles. And so I'm hoping that the message changes from Trump all the time. He said today that Iran is close to surrender, which that's probably bullshit. But I'm hoping
In
that it's
his
yeah.
little mind, he's close to surrender. It is where, and then he's surprised, like when he's like with Ukraine, when he was like, oh, I can talk to Vladimir Putin. No, you can't because he's an evil dictator who
Mhm.
doesn't give a shit about what you think.
Yeah.
And then he's surprised when he's like, oh, this is still going on. It was much harder than I thought it was going to be. It's like, oh God. We're not playing like, a board game here. We're
Well, no, he is preserved in amber in New York City in a boardroom full of real estate brokers in New York City in the 1980s, and he thinks that everything works like that.
and it
It
doesn't.
doesn't. You actually have to have people who know what they're doing, and the people who are executing this war are totally incompetent. You have the drunk alcoholic Pete Hegseth running the military.
Well, then
You,
you also go piss off all your allies.
yeah.
Why don't we just taunt all our friends first and then get into a fight and then, like, oh, come help me. You know,
Yeah.
like, fuck you. I'll be there in a minute. Give me a minute. You be there, I'll catch up with you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so one of the reasons why we need to win this midterm, folks, is that we need to have a check and balance on Donald Trump. And so I think Democrats are in a really good position to win back the House of Representatives. But I think, recent polling has shown that the Senate is also within reach too. And
Yeah.
so if we can have both houses, that would be amazing. Think about what we could do there. We could stop Donald Trump's horrible budget or at least mitigate them so they don't have do as much
We
damage.
could impeach him for good. We
We
could,
might, well, we would need 67 senators for
uh,
that. And I think even with if the majority comes back to the Democrats, I don't think
but
they'll get that much. But I think, but
I think
we
if some Republicans saw the light at the end of the tunnel, they might, might like get rid of this guy. There's got to be
Oh, please.
Republicans who
Oh,
are like,
please. I've given up on that. Please. I've lived through a decade of Susan Collins being concerned.
yeah,
I've lived through a decade of Susan Collins being deeply concerned and then voting for Brett Kavanaugh anyway. And I've given up on Republicans finding their
Democrats
conscience.
do that too.
Yeah,
So
I've given up on Republicans finding their conscience. They don't have it or they won't use it. And so I am hopeful that we can take back the Senate. And also, that's another possibility if there's a Supreme Court vacancy, he won't get it.
right,
He will not get it for the last 2 years of his presidency because we'll have the Senate.
we'll pull a Mitch McConnell.
Yes, we
We'll
will.
call that new move a Mitch McConnell move.
We will. And I think, you know what I think would be really helpful to winning back the Senate. I've said this on previous episodes. If Chuck Schumer bows out and says, I'm not going to be the leader of the Senate Democrats, because that is totally uninspiring, I think, because he's been so limp and ineffective in this moment. And we need somebody who's a fighter in the Senate, like Chris Murphy or Chris Van Hollen or Elizabeth Warren. Somebody who is much more has a little bit more fire in their bellies.
Yeah, speaking of Elizabeth Warren, she passed a bipartisan bill recently.
It was a housing bill, and I'm not.
Yeah.
Is it the same one that Mondani went to Trump with and said, we should build 12,000 new houses, or is that a separate thing?
I think it's separate, but it is, I just read it very quickly, a headline. Um, because, all right, this is how I got the headline. We were going to, for our 100th anniversary, we were going to talk about all the good things that happened on the left this year.
There's
And
very few. We have
very
very
few.
few. Yeah.
So I did a chat GPT just to see what chat GPT would mention. And one of the things they mentioned was Warren, with his bipartisan bill, but that was the only thing that it said. But to air, I haven't yet read up on it, so I'm not sure of the whole thing of the bill.
Well, actually, the I've read about the a little bit of the bill. I'm not sure if it's the same one that Mamdani went to Trump about building new housing in New York City with, but I think this one passed overwhelmingly in the Senate, 89 to 10. And I don't know if it has much of a future in the House. That depends on if Donald Trump wants to use his political capital to get little grinder Mike Johnson to do it, but we'll see. So that would be something really good if we could get that happening. But I would say some of the things that we've done well over the last year, and there's been a lot of talk about, what direction Democrats should go in and who should lead. I've already said Chuck Schumer needs to not be the leader of the Senate Democrats. But I think just the performance of Democrats in elections is a highlight.
Yeah,
Uh,
the win in Virginia and New Jersey. Um, I
I think getting Zora Mamdani over Andrew Cuomo is a big deal
Yes, well,
in New
and
York
also
City.
big for the left of Democrats, the
Yeah.
social Dems, and they're also gaining power. And though, when we look at the election in Texas, Jasmine Crockett, though she didn't win, I like the fact that it encouraged her to go out and run. I thought that was a healthy primary. I really did. Like, I'd like to see primaries like that. Like, I thought they both kind of went out and had a good, this is who I am, this is who I am, and shook hands after the end of the primary.
Well, outside of the online universe, it was like that, but online it was actually quite nasty between their supporters. But I think that I was always in that particular primary. I was rooting for Tallarico because um, he was running for a much longer time. His message seemed to resonate a little bit more. And though Jasmine Crockett, I do like that she has a fighting spirit. I do like her viral moments. I will always love the bleach blonde, bad built butch body that she called Marjorie Taylor Greene. I do. I always like
I
that.
like that she's there.
Yeah, I like that she's there, but as running for statewide office, I didn't feel like that was a good move for her because beyond just being like a fighter and all that, I didn't quite understand what she stood for. But I think Tallarico had a really good message, rooted in faith and not in a toxic way. It's not in the Joel Osteen megachurch way. It was more, about love and compassion and being there for one's neighbor. I think that really resonated. And we have a lot of candidates like that, not just in Texas, but throughout the country, that have really good messages that I'm really optimistic about, not just in House races, but in Senate races and governor's races. And the race for New York 11 here in Staten Island and in South Brooklyn, that recently got a shakeup too. So we've had two candidates in the race for a long time. We've had Troy.
Technically, we had Troy the whole year. He was the first one.
Yeah, he's
Uh,
Troy McGee, and then we have and then over the last few weeks we've had Michael DeSillis jumping into the race. He's been very active in the resistance movement here on Staten Island. But over the last week or so, we've had another candidate jump in, Allison Ziogas. Allison Ziogas is, from everything I could tell, a union organizer, an electrician by trade, and she just received the endorsement of the Staten Island Democratic County Committee in that part. Now, just to be clear, there's still going to be a primary, but the party is officially backing her. And she came out with a really impressive ad. We're trying to get her on the podcast within the next few weeks. I hope she's able to come on.
And
uh,
Mike DeSillis.
and Mike DeSillis as well.
And
He's been,
we've had Troy on. Well,
yeah.
Mike hasn't come on as a candidate.
No, he's come
So
on as one of the organizers of the town halls last year.
yeah,
And so
so
I'm hoping I'm in touch with his people too. So we're trying to get everybody to come on and make their case. And
and
I'm
Troy should come back on too. It's been a
absolutely,
while.
yeah, absolutely. Troy should come back on, and I'm hoping that uh, this platform is a place that all of them feel welcome and that they could get their message out.
Well,
I'm really excited though
yeah,
that there's a primary, and I'll tell you
so
why. But go ahead.
so this Angela
Mm-mm.
uh
Allison.
Allison, sorry. Um, so Allison sent me a text yesterday,
Yeah.
with a video, and I haven't seen this from the other two candidates, so she must have some money behind her because she had made a really good video, well done, and like I was like, oh, this is a video that needs to get out there. And so I'm assuming who's ever backing her, she's gotten, she has some people who or know how to run a campaign, because I didn't see anything like that. I didn't see any ads for Troy or for Mike yet. So,
Well, actually, well, her union is supporting her, and her
so if
union,
that's a union,
yeah,
that's where she's getting the money to
yeah, and
make
so
those ads.
yeah, and I will say I've already seen some online discourse about this one being a plant, and that Democrats, please don't do that. I would say we tend to in our primaries we tend to do the circular firing squad to a point where
We need to,
it puts off the voters, and so
yeah,
we have
we need to get behind,
whoever,
have a primary,
yeah,
and whoever wins the primary. I
yeah.
don't know why does county endorse someone before the primary? I don't get that. Why is that?
Well, they endorse somebody, and it doesn't always happen that way. But
They had to have a meeting yesterday, like it was, why couldn't they wait?
yeah.
Why, do you know why that happens?
Well, in this case, I think this year what everybody was waiting to see is what the Supreme Court was going to do as far as redistricting. And once that came down, and once it was decided that the district lines would remain as they are, then things I think got started and rolling in motion on the part of the county party. And so I
You,
think that's what was happening here and now.
so they're, so counties, I, maybe I didn't ask, I don't know. I just don't quite understand why they still don't wait for the primary
Well, they
and
always,
see
yeah.
what Democrats in general,
Well,
who they vote for.
they,
Or do they want to get ahead so they can beat Nicole earlier? Because are they backing someone they're thinking who's going to beat Nicole?
it seems that way. It seems that way. I wasn't at the meeting, but it seems that
No,
that's what's,
Mary, I didn't go either.
yeah, because it seems that that's what their thinking is behind it. But like I said, I think a primary needs to occur.
Yeah.
Flesh all of that out. Now, the party does endorse people sometimes in primaries, but that's not a guarantee that that person wins. Oftentimes, what we've seen on Staten Island is that the person without the party backing actually does win. That was certainly the case with Debbie Rose in the city council race. That was certainly the case with our friend Matt Tone in the assembly and in the surrogate court judge race. Mondani too. That was also the case here. So we have to also, keep in mind that even though the party is supporting people, that there still are the candidates, and we should give them all, the benefit of the doubt. Let them make their
Yeah,
case.
so let's all come on and talk about their positions and how, and also for me, my goal is someone that can beat Nicole.
Yes.
Um because there is a good momentum in on the borough of people who are calling her on her stuff and are not quiet. Maliotakis Mondays, people are in front of her office constantly. Um Addressing things that she's not doing, not just as a Republican, but as our representative. And so she really needs to be unseated. And I don't want her to think that just because she won this redistricting, that, this election is in the bag, because it's not.
No, and I actually think the fact that there are multiple candidates here and that there is a primary, despite the fact that the district lines are staying the same, shows that there is momentum and that there is a feeling that this can be won with the lines as they are.
All right, Thames, we got your players. Let's go out. Let's have our primary, which is when? When's our primary?
June 23rd.
All right, so then after June, and then let's go out and beat Nicole. So whoever wins the primary, and they're three good people. Like,
Hmm.
they're good in service. They have good morals. They're good for the party, and so let's see what they have to offer. And
Well, I said on the last episode too, and that this at this point, Zyogas hadn't entered, but I think that what's good about these candidates, all three, Troy, Mike, and now Allison, is that uh, I think they are all people whom Staten Islanders, wherever they are on the political spectrum, can see themselves in.
yeah, like
These.
you have a union member.
Mm-hmm.
You have a few union members, but an electrician.
Mm-hmm.
You have a former police officer, and you also have a former teacher, retired teacher. So all major civil servants that are here on Staten Island, um, and come from served in some capacity, and so and all have different styles. So let's see, Troy came in the game earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of he's been a consistent person there for a while. Mike comes from, he did the town halls, and Alice comes from, a union background, and she's got a good backing,
Mm-hmm.
and now she's got the endorsement of the county. So they all come with a good, so let's good luck, guys, and beat Nicole.
Yeah, and I think, if we can do if it could happen in Marjorie Taylor Greene's deep red district, where a Democrat forced a runoff, um, I think that it could certainly happen here. That's certainly it's certainly plausible. It's certainly a possibility, and it's something that we should all work for. And I think that uh, we have the momentum, and uh, I think we should leave it to grassroots voters to make the decisions. Uh, and I think that, what we need is new leaders in the party. So, Chuck, you might want to say, sorry, look, I'm leaving it to somebody else. If we really want to win the Senate, that should be what we do.
I
Um,
hope so.
yeah,
He doesn't show any sign of it though.
no.
But, hopefully Democrats will get smart and do that, and have a little talking to him. Say, thank you very much, but it's time to go. Remember Ruth Bader Ginsburg? We loved her very much, but
Remember Joe Biden?
yeah, it's like
You know,
they tend to stick around too long, and then so we have definitely some new leadership. And I also like the fact that this is new leadership. Like for me personally, I was kind of like I wanted some of the old school people to come in and run for Congress. And I was like, where's Cusack? Where's Diane Savino? Like they should run. And but you know what? I'm glad that we have these three candidates, and let's see if they can get some new blood and hopefully oust Nicole out of her seat, and so she can go get her, hey, she'll get her $1 million lobby job, and her stock portfolio is good. So
yeah,
she'll
she'll
be
be,
okay. She'll be okay.
yeah, she'll be fine. She doesn't need all the insider trading she's doing right now.
Yeah.
So, but that's, yeah. So I'm looking forward to just what's to come in the year. I do have, like I said, I do have some concerns and some fears, but I also have some hopes. I do have some aspirations about how I want or what I want our podcast to play a role in bringing about here in Staten Island. And so I'm hoping that we are a part of eventually this blue wave that hits in November.
I'm hoping we get some more listeners,
Hmm.
so we get maybe some sponsorship.
Hmm.
Um, we can kind of make kind of hoping we get some sponsorship so we can buy equipment.
Hmm.
All right, because we're talking, I don't, we're talking on Zoom. A lot of podcasters have microphones and
Yeah.
studio stuff, and so maybe for our next 100 we can
Yeah.
do a little upgrade. So if anybody wants to sponsor us,
Yeah.
we'll do an ad here and there.
We will.
So yeah, like Utz's pretzel rods that the computer is
That's our makeshift tripod.
sitting on top of a pretzel barrel. We could do that. But yeah, I'm hoping that we kind of expand and so we can because I'm happy with I have to say that a lot of people who we come across are happy to know that our podcast is out there and that we're presenting a different voice than what people tend to think Staten Island is about. And it's not all right. There is a lot of people on the left. There is a lot more diversity than people give us credit for because that's how the media portrays us. So I'm glad we are a different voice.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, on a lighter note, you watched Melania.
I did. It was free. It was free. So, and it's like the Kardashians. I fell asleep to it.
I think that was the reaction of most people, judging by the numbers.
Yeah. I didn't watch the whole movie, so I can't comment on the whole thing. Like, but
Where did you fall asleep?
I
What point?
the beginning after she made her dress. So it the story is about her like from getting ready for the inauguration, like the days before the inauguration. So she one of the things I remember is she came from Mar-a-Lago, so it was the one thing I did like is there's a drone who does the filming, and the drone film, like the cinematography is pretty good, and this drone is kind of doing this aerial view of Mar-a-Lago, and then they kind of focus in and they go in onto her limo where she's getting into the Trump airplane to go to New York, and then she goes to Trump Tower where they start doing a fitting for her dress that she wears for the inauguration.
And you could look it up. It's the redacted Jeffrey Epstein file
Not
dress.
that dress.
Oh, it's not?
It's the one that she wears with the hat where he can't kiss her.
Oh, the Hamburglar
Yeah,
outfit.
the outfit. But and then they got to that dress too, where she wears the redacted
Mhm.
Jeffrey Epstein dress. And I think that's where I fell asleep because I don't remember the inauguration.
Oh God, I wish I could say the same.
So,
I
but
wish I could say I don't remember
it was
it.
free. So I was like, oh, all right. I had finished all my General Hospital, so
Well, the cinematography should be good. They got, Jeff Bezos and Amazon to pay, however many $1 million
yeah.
towards it. So I think it
Yeah, the
should.
cinematography was pretty good. So I have to say it was that. And otherwise, and I have to rewatch it, but I probably won't.
Why would anybody?
I
I
don't
mean,
know. I didn't
like,
see, but I did see it for a little, some of it. Um, and then I watched Riot Women. I started watching Riot Women on
what,
BritBox.
what's that?
So Riot Women is it's about women my age who are like kind of forgotten,
Uh-huh.
like the borough.
Uh-huh.
And they're just kind of these women who are from my generation who, their husbands have left them or their kids are grown and kind of like the series opens up with a teacher who's still working about to commit suicide. So
Oh,
I'm like,
Jesus
oh,
Christ.
Jesus Christ, this is like
Dark.
her mother has dementia, and so she sells her house so she can pay for care for her mother. This is England. I'm like, wait, what happened to national health? I thought they had. And so the scene opens where she's like about to stand on a chair and she's got the noose around her
Oh
and
God.
the phone rings twice. So it rings the first time and it's her brother and pisses her off. So she goes back on the chair and then her cell phone goes off. And then it's her friend going, "You want to be in a band?" And so then they have another woman who like is in a supermarket drunk, like raiding all the pills in the Sainsbury and grabbing knives and about to cut her face. And I was like, God, is life that bad as a 55-year-old? Like, oh my God. I mean, I have bad days, um, but so I'm watching it. So they're gonna start a punk band,
Right.
which I'm like, let's get to the music because their regular lives are crazy.
Yeah. Wow.
I was thinking of moving to England, but
I think it's all that close clouds and rain.
it's a little dark over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, it's all those clouds and rain. So
So yeah, I need some lighter.
Well, yeah, I definitely, I notice in the Trump era, I am not consuming cable news nearly as much as I did the first time around. There are different, like once a week I watch Rachel Maddow. And then, if there are like election night specials or things like that, I'll do that. But mainly I've been turning to other podcasts for that, and that's usually when I'm in the car. And so
What do you watch at night besides Golden Girls?
I,
I know you watch Golden Girls.
I watched Golden Girls. I now it's been like, true crime and stuff. And that's been a little, that's less heavy than what's
Yeah, like
happening in the world.
General
Like,
Hospital. I've
you
been
know,
watching General Hospital,
yeah.
and I am doing a lot less news. But you know what made me realize that when we were in Mexico, we didn't listen to the news at all.
I got some notifications
Yeah, we
here and
got some
there.
stuff on the phone, but we
Yeah.
weren't watching daily
No,
television.
no.
And I liked that a lot. And, I got the information I needed. Um, and I was like, so when I came home, my television broke, like the screen just died. Um, and I haven't gotten a new one yet. So everything I've been watching is on the computer. So I'm like, oh, I'll get it eventually.
Yeah, I mean, if there's like a nuke barreling towards us, I guess I'll watch, but
Yeah.
and anything short of that, I think it can wait. Like that's how I look at it.
Because
But
he's crazy, man. The whole going on in Iran. Every day is a different story and a different. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot. So
yeah, well, I think, as much as we want people to get out there and make our voices heard and be the resistance, we also want people to take care of themselves too. Not, as one of my favorite influencers, I'm not thinking of her name right now, but she said, they will not take our joy, this will not consume us, but we'll fight it.
absolutely.
That's been sort of my go-to with all of this. And we were talking about AI before. Interestingly enough, the Trump administration has been fighting with Anthropic about
Yes,
about AI because of
they want control over it.
yeah, well,
And
Anthropic had the audacity to ask the Trump administration, that drunk Pete Hegseth, to not use their software to build autonomous weapons that can fire and shoot missiles on their own.
yeah, they wanted some say in what they
Yeah,
could use their AI programs for, and the government said no.
yeah, and they not only said no to that, plus they also said we don't want surveillance on Americans. And not only did the federal government said no, but Trump and Hegseth wanted to put them like on the banned government contract list, so so that nobody in the federal government could use them.
Well, kudos to them. I think I might buy their stock now.
Yeah. Well, and actually other companies are
What's it?
joining them in their lawsuits because
What
there's a lawsuit now,
what is
Anthropic.
Anthropic? Let's
Yeah.
see if I think I went to see if they were listed. I don't think they were, but
Yeah, other companies are joining with them. And I think part of the reason, like I don't think last year around this time you would ever have seen a company uh joining with a company that's at odds with the administration in a lawsuit. But I think now all of these places are sensing all of these businesses and all of these
well, market's tanking. I mean, like, how are you doing, MAGA people? Are you happy with your guy? I mean, no new wars, drop in prices, cheap gas.
well
None of that is happening. Can
well, you wanted lower gas prices, lower groceries, no new wars, and a full release of the Epstein files. Have you gotten any of that? No.
no.
No, and it's actually gone the other direction. Everything's more expensive, and there's even more of a cover-up than there ever has been as it relates to the Epstein files. And it's all related. I think, part of the reason why I think we went to war with Iran is because Bibi Netanyahu has the goods on Donald Trump, probably because of a blackmail operation that Jeffrey Epstein was a part of. Probably got the goods on Donald Trump doing things he shouldn't be doing with underage girls. And Bibi said, either drop the bomb or we're going to drop a bomb of our own in the form of this, what we have. And so that's my theory about why that all happened. Um,
Why we went to war over
yeah,
that. If that is the case, That is disgusting.
Yeah, and that, and I also think, he finally, Bibi Netanyahu, after 40 years, I mean, he's been saying Iran's on the brink of a nuclear weapon for 40 years now. It's going to be a day, it's going to be a week, it's going to be a month, it's going to be 6 weeks until they have a nuclear weapon. And it's been decades and it hasn't come to fruition. But he's finally found an American president stupid enough and pliable enough to go along with it.
You know, Iran does not have a good relationship with Israel, and the fact that they have negative neighbors is not good for Israel. So why not try to be good neighbors with each other? And the same thing, like, when we made the deal under the Obama administration with the nuclear trade deal, there's a history between us and Iran. There's a reason why they don't trust us. I mean, look at the history, with the staging the coup and bringing the Shah in.
1953.
Yeah, so and then how the Shah, so if you build a relationship, but don't, I think by bombing them now, we've poked a bear, and I don't know how big the bear is, but you've poked him, now you've pissed them off. Like I just said, it's the sequel. You killed the father, but you brought the son. And um, you're gonna blow up the son now? Like, what's gonna happen?
Well, I think he thought, well, I was able to take the head off the snake in Venezuela, and that was it. But Iran is a different beast.
What he's doing, because he has some psychopath in the Department of War who thinks this is all like a video game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's a good way of describing it. He thinks it's like a video game or, a really bad bender that he's been on, I'm sure. Um, and I won't call it the Department of War because Congress hasn't changed the name, and so I'm going to officially dead name it the Department of Defense. Like so, because they insist on calling trans people by their cisgendered names. So I'm going to call them the Department of Defense. I'm going to
Good.
call it the Department. I'm going to call it the Gulf of America of Mexico.
It is the Gulf of
Yeah, I'm going to
Mexico.
call it the Gulf of Mexico. I'm going to dead name those places.
It is Gulf of Mexico Department of Defense.
Yeah.
But the fact is that we poked this bear, and now that there's talk that Russia is helping out. If that's the case, then how are we going to react to that? Um, and then you have Iran not only going after our targets, but going after other targets in the Middle East. Who is going to get involved there? It's just the makings of World War III. That's the thing that concerns me as well. I like the fact that Europe is they're kind of like taking a step back, like, all right, you've been mean to us, you've been like a bad friend, and now you want our help. It's like, okay, I'll meet you at the, you go first, I'll be there in a minute.
Mhm.
So, but we haven't been nice to our allies, and then we start this major, disruption, and we go after Iran, and
And it's one that's going to prove to be quite expensive, by the way, because if the Strait of Hormuz is continuing to be obstructed by the Iranians, and anybody who crosses it gets blown up. Uh, that's where a fifth of the world's oil passes through. And so that's certainly going to increase the price of gas, although the United States has been a prolific exporter of petroleum over the last few years. Even still, the shelf life for that is going to be short, and we're going to feel the pain from that.
yeah, and Donald Trump said, "Oh, we'll just open more oil," and meanwhile, he's destroyed the ability for us to make electric cars and to find other forms of energy. So we have to rely on oil, and so therefore, if he when he starts this war, his heels are going to be in it, and so he has to keep moving. He has to keep with this war, um, and he did not think before he got in on this, and so. I don't know what do you think Congress is going to do? You think Congress is going to vote for him to?
Well, Congress already voted not to do that. The House rejected that bill, so did the Senate. And, one Nicole Maliotakis, of course, voted to give Trump more power on that front because she's totally willing to abdicate her own authority and her own power to serve the dear leader. One of 500 million reasons why she should be voted out in November.
Absolutely. She went on Fox Business the other day, and she was talking about how you know, we don't want to support our troops. And I was like, that's ridiculous. Like you don't blame it on that. Um, fact of the matter is this is not a well thought out plan. Um, and so the fact that it's not well thought out, like we haven't even thought about how we were going to get our American people out of the Middle East after you put it this you know the State Department put out a warning that all Americans need to leave the Middle East, but you don't have a plan about getting them out. Like shit like that.
Hmm.
Like you don't think about. And we are the most powerful country in the world. We have a lot of might. Yeah, we can go in and drop a lot of bombs, but it's some of the underlining stuff that you need to think about that is going to get to weaken us.
Well, absolutely. And she's been all over, Nicole, that is, has been all over social media talking about how we should fund DHS, and because Democrats because Democrats rightfully so do not want to fund the domestic terror agency ICE. They have they have not been able to come to an agreement about funding DHS. And so there's been a partial government shutdown over that for the last month or so. And
And
basically,
I mean, I feel bad for TSA workers. Like they're
well,
they're not getting paid
well, absolutely.
and
But
they're quitting.
well, you know what? I also think, Democrats in both the House and the Senate, they offered to bring a standalone bill to fund TSA and to fund all of those functions, and the Republicans rejected it. And so when she goes on and says if you have a longer line, it's because of Democrats. No, it's not. It's
No, it's
because of them.
yeah,
They have the majority. Republicans have the majority in the House. They have it in the Senate, and they have the White House. There is no reason why they cannot fund this. And again, Democrats extended the olive branch of only funding TSA as a standalone bill, and they rejected it. So don't let her lie to you. Do not let her lie to you.
very good.
That is what she does. She lies, she obfuscates, she deflects, she blames Democrats for things that, her and her party have done or not done. And so she is a liar. Don't let her gaslight you into thinking Democrats caused your long line at the airport.
Or yes, in regards to Homeland Security, like we would rather allow illegal aliens to come. No, that's not the case. We want, correct enforcement, but the fact of the matter is that until we strike a deal on how Homeland Security is going to behave
Mhm.
like humans, sorry, and Republicans refuse, they they rather have these draconian laws that are inhumane and give Homeland Security this kind of blanket immunity, which they can't, because as you can see, the way they behaved in Minneapolis, there needs to be some regulations.
Well, there
They did
needs
not handle it well.
Yeah, there needs to be guardrails, and I don't. There needs to be guardrails, and my own position on that, as I've been saying for the past few weeks now on this podcast, is that we need to abolish ICE from top to bottom. And I was not always in that camp, but now I am, because they have been used as as a paramilitary force to carry out this president's political will and to terrorize groups of people that this president has scapegoated. And so we need to tear down that organization from top to bottom. Uh,
I
body,
agree.
yeah, body cameras, Cory Booker and Chuck Schumer, that is not going to work. Body cameras, uh, them going faceless, they don't give a shit about accountability. These are lawless thugs, the people who are in ICE right now. It needs to be torn down from top to bottom. And if it means shutting down DHS for 2 years, then let's shut it down for 2 fucking years. Because those people are thugs. And why I do not want my tax money going to people to shoot American citizens in the face, like Renee Good, or shooting them while they're restrained on the ground, like Alex Preddy, for simply holding up a camera.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck that.
Mm-hmm.
I do not want that to happen at all. So if we have to shut it down for 2 years,
Going in a house without a warrant
yeah.
or arresting someone without cause, or just simply the fact about the way they look.
or denying due process.
Yeah.
I do not want any of that to be funded with my money. I don't. And so if we have to shut that down for 2 years, we have to shut it down for 2 years.
Yeah, so let's do that.
Hmm.
So, and this is why, we have some form of a shutdown. And then the other thing that Nicole, oh, that's what she was on Fox Business about, talking lies about the SAVE Act, because she's not telling everybody what is in this act. But the SAVE Act is not just about voter, it's not about voter accountability. It's not about that at all. They want people to go out and get voter IDs, which a lot of people aren't necessarily opposed to getting some form of IDs, but they want you to get, when you get the ID, to get proof of citizenship. And that, for people who do not hold a passport, that is very difficult. Like, I was listening to a radio podcast, a man who holds a passport, he goes, I don't even know where my birth certificate is. So that is going to minimize the amount of people who can vote. That has nothing to do with fraud. Nothing to do with fraud. They're just going to minimize the amount of people who can vote. Women in this bill, if they're married, they have to find their old birth certificates and their marriage license. What if they were married in a different state and the state that they're now registering doesn't recognize that license? Does that mean they can't register to vote?
Or, like if birth certificate is a legitimate form of ID to prove that you can vote, the last name on my mother's birth certificate is not what her last name is now, and so she would be disenfranchised. She would not be able to vote.
And Donald Trump is not willing to negotiate at all on that. In fact, he made a comment that he wasn't going to pass anything until that act was passed. And he
Okay,
said that if it was passed, Republicans wouldn't lose
for
the
50
for
years.
like, yeah. And he goes, unless you're really screwed up. And my factor of matter is that's not about accountability. That's about voter suppression. And that's a different, and that's what she's doing. That's what she's supporting. She's supporting voter suppression. I was very happy to see that when I was subbing today that they had they had a voter registration uh, group come in and help the kids register to vote, because I was like, God knows when they're going to get they're going to get the chance next year.
Well, let's first break this down. There are multiple layers to this. So number one, all of these efforts are about two things. One, uh,
Polling power.
that's one, but the first one is fulfilling Donald Trump's vain, narcissistic, dementia-ridden fantasy that he won the 2020 election. That's why he's subpoenaing ballots from Arizona.
That's costing so much money. You want to talk about like waste and fraud? This stuff has already been proving. They're using taxpayer money again
Yeah,
to go after something that they've already proven is,
a lie.
a lie. But and like there has been, like, for example, mail-in ballots for like dead people. Mail-in ballots have been mailed to dead people for a while, but dead people don't vote because they're dead.
Yeah. Well, but also, that's one part of it. So he's
And it's
been
not enough to sway an election. So you
no.
might have, like, like when they take a poll margin of error, it's
Yeah.
kind of something like that. But it's not fraud. It's
Not
not like,
even.
and
Not
it's on,
even.
and it's not even one party either. It's like there's that kind of like shit that happens throughout the country, but it doesn't sway an election, and it's not deliberate fraud.
No. And so I would say there's two things going on. One is to fulfill and, uh, stroke his vain, narcissistic, dementia-ridden fantasy that he actually won the 2020 election, and by confiscating ballots in Georgia and Arizona to do it. But also, this is about voter suppression, as Nancy said, period, full stop. If let's say passports are the only acceptable form of ID, passports are over $200 and they
Yeah.
take weeks to receive. And so you are not only imposing a poll tax, essentially, if you do this, but you're also, running out the clock because, I'm sure in this federal government, they will slow down any applications for new passports deliberately so people can't get them in time to vote. So it's going to be that. And by the way, John Thune, the majority leader of the Senate, the Republican side from South Dakota, he is contemplating now changing the filibuster rule, not so that they would override the filibuster. They don't have the support for that, but so that the Democrats who oppose the SAVE Act would have to get up and do like a talking filibuster.
Like when
Go,
Mr. Smith
yeah,
goes to Washington.
yeah. Well, here's what I say to that. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Do it because if you do that, you give there are what, 47, maybe 48 Democratic senators in the Senate. Give each of them a platform to talk about why this bill is a voter suppression tool. Those are campaign ads in and of themselves. And John Thune has acknowledged that when he's tried to dissuade Trump from going down this road because he doesn't want to do this. He's basically said you're giving Democrats fodder for this election if you force a talking filibuster on this issue. So I say, yeah, go for it. Do it. Let Elizabeth Warren go up there and speak about why this is a problematic bill. Let the best voices in the Senate go up there and do that, like Chris Murphy and Cory Booker and some of the others go up there and do that because that'll work in our favor. And so by all means, go ahead and do it. And so that's what I have to say about that. I do not think ultimately that the SAVE Act is going to be passed. They don't have the support to override the
I hope
filibuster.
it doesn't. Yeah.
But what's more concerning is, according to the Washington Post, is that allies of Donald Trump have already drafted a plan for him to declare a national emergency, which is what I was talking about earlier, which would allow him to declare broad powers over elections. And we know in 2020 he tried to, and he at least talked about or contemplated uh, basically seizing ballots and seizing voting machines. And so I'm worried that he will try to move to take executive actions to do that while, he wrangles with Congress about whether to pass this law. But
Well, if it does happen,
Hmm?
we've said it. So
We've warned you.
yeah.
And Nicole Maliotakis supports that. So she was recently she's been like a force behind the Women's History Museum opening up in DC. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yes.
She's been sort of at the forefront of that, and Democrats like Carolyn Maloney have given her credit for that. Fuck that. Nicole Maliotakis has been a cheerleader and a supporter and a leader in this movement that has stripped women of their bodily autonomy, that wants to take away their right to vote through this new law. Uh, that's such a weird sounding
I
sound.
know.
I thought it was like a fucking ghost or
At
something.
first I was like, is it
Yeah.
an animal?
Yes.
Is that Guillermo? Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, anyway, she talks a big game. She appeared on a paddle with Linda Carter, Wonder Woman,
Yeah,
and
look, they're all conservative women.
yeah,
So, it's like the Phyllis Schlafly crew.
with her gay son.
So, no, but like the whole little conservative women.
Yeah, well, so don't believe her when she talks about women's history and this and that. She could give a fuck about women, and she's worked harder than anybody to screw them over. And so that's what I have to say about that. So, do we have any final thoughts, Nancy?
More wine. That's my
Yes,
final thought.
yes,
So,
absolutely. And then
uh,
we'll toast.
well, as far as thinking positive, I'm glad that we have reached 100 episodes, and
Yes.
I look forward to the next 100, wherever we may be. Uh, but
Hopefully, we're not in an underground bunker.
and like our kudos to, we have to have Trish on, our creator of
Our
uh,
logo.
a logo. I love our logo. It's very good. So
Well, on that
we
note,
yeah, let's make some merch.
yeah.
Let's make some merch. There we go. On that note,
Here's to 100
here's to
episodes.
100.
And to the next 100, this is the Left in the Forgotten Borough podcast. I'm Andrew Savage.
I'm Nancy Richards,
We'll see
and
you next week.
see you next week.